Alright, this is everything that comes in the kit. You get the ethanol sensor with their custom bracket. We're going to mount that right here where the washer bottle gets secured onto the engine mount. You get a harness, 2 fittings that are going to go in line. So we're going to cut the fuel line right about here, and then the fittings go in there in each one with hose clamps, and then those are going to clip onto the ethanol sensor. You get hose clamps, you get this little cool, I guess it's a pin locator, that little square. We're gonna put it right over here. It gets located pretty much right there into that pin. And that's where the signal wire from the sensor is gonna go. We got our 12 volt power source wire. It's gonna go into the fuse panel in line, one of these fuse areas. I haven't decided which one I'm gonna use yet. It's gotta be 12 volt key on though. And then we'll put the fuse that we take out right here. This is the fuse for the sensor itself. You wanna make sure that it is key on 12 volts, otherwise your sensor will stay on all the time. It could cause a battery drain. Ground, we'll find a really good ground for this one. And then obviously you get a couple cool Cobb stickers put on your ride, so that's good. Shout out to Matt who packaged this right on. It's pretty awesome. Very excited for this, so let's get to the install. All right, first thing we're gonna do is remove SB10, which is this 15 amp right here. This is for the fuel pump control module. So you're gonna set it aside. Then we're gonna crank the engine to relieve any pressure that's in the system. There's still gonna be some residual, but we're gonna start it, let it idle, and then die, and then try to start it again. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna take any residual fuel pressure that's in here. So when we cut the line for the ethanol sensor, it doesn't spray fuel everywhere. It's still gonna leak some fuel, so put some rags underneath, but we'll get there in a second. So let's start it up. All right, so we're gonna start it up. It's gonna idle, it's gonna have faults on the dash and stuff. Just because you got the fuel pump control module fuse unplugged, disconnected. So there you go. So stalls out, do it again. Might try to start again just to make sure. All right, that should be plenty. All right, whenever I'm working in here, I always disconnect the negative cable just in case, you know, something happens, shorting it out, anything like that. We're gonna disconnect the ECU, so you push down on that, pull up on this. This is where we're gonna pin in our signal wire from the sensor. Okay, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut this line here, and then we're gonna install the fittings. So I'm gonna put the camera down while I cut it, and we'll come back afterwards. All right, so I got it bolted down. Remove the bolt right here, installed the sensor with the bracket. When I cut the line, I actually cut a little bit off, probably about 1 inch on each side. That'll take up the space that this is gonna be. If you don't, it's gonna get all kind of bunched up and, you know, back here, and you can disconnect it from here. It'll still be secured because it's not going anywhere from right here, but you also want to make sure that this part of the actual screw part of the clamp is underneath so that it doesn't rub on the bottom of the coolant hose over time. Make sure these are really tight. You don't want any fuel leaking. I mean, this does get up to 6 bars, so just kind of keep that in mind. All right, now we gotta do the wiring. Okay, so we're hooking up the signal wire, which is that one, to the ECU. In order to get this cover off, you just lightly pry up on this tab here. It slides back out of these little tabs in the back, and just kind of slide it down. You don't have to cut the zip tie or anything. We're gonna take our tool. Sorry, I tried to do this with one hand here. Probably should get a tripod, but all good. All right, so we're gonna line up our tool like that. That is the pin location we need, so everything lines up. We're going to take our pin release tool, and we're going to release the pin and then push down on it, and what it does is it pops that little gray kind of like it's like a pin blocker, keeps moisture and everything out of the connector. And then we're gonna grab it with some needle nose, pull it out. Sorry, focus here, focus. So that's it. So we're gonna pull that guy out. I'm gonna put the pin in that same location. All right, so I missed a crucial step for you guys. I already removed it, but you're gonna pull this locking slider out of the connector, and then you can press the little dummy plug out of there. So I already put the pin in the location right there. Now we're gonna put our lock in and put the connector back on. So I hooked up the power wire, so it comes with this new connector part that you just push over the power pin, lock that into place, installed the 15 amp fuse into the fuse holder, and we're gonna go right back into that location for the fuel pump control module. I'm gonna run the wire down underneath here. In order to pull this, you're gonna pry carefully on this lower section here, and it unlocks from down there. And that slides up, and then we're gonna route our power wire along the side here, up underneath, and that way it's all enclosed. And then we hooked up our ground to the ground location here, so remove this ground and then put the wire behind it, tighten it down, make sure it's tight. We're gonna route all this together, gotta zip tie it up. I already had routed it along the engine harness, so just running along the engine harness underneath. I'm gonna zip tie it to it. I undid these top clips so that I can clip it underneath the harness here, which is secured really good, so that's good. You don't have to zip tie that. And then we'll just put a zip tie right here, and it's already plugged in. So we're close, we're getting there. All right, I got the access port plugged in, access port manager open. So I'm gonna grab the Flex-Fuel file, transfer it over to the access port. These are all the files I have on there currently. All right. All right, access port's all booted up. We're gonna go to change ECU map. We're gonna select the Cobb Stage 1. These are all Stage 2s. Here we go, Flex-Fuel, and then I added some 5-bar map sensors from IE, so I'm gonna do an install video on those. Keep in touch for that one, but we're gonna select it, and it's gonna start flashing. Once it does, we'll get it fired up, check for fuel leaks. I already kind of did a pre-check once the pump primed, and there wasn't any leaks, so that's good. But you know, once it's up and running, we'll do a final check, and I'll show you guys the rest of the install, and we'll do some first drives. All right, flash is done. You gotta be kind of patient. This one does take a little bit because it flashes completely over the last file you had. Usually when you flash like a revision or something, it will just kind of flash the variables and stuff that it needs in the file. But this is a completely new file since it is their Flex-Fuel file. All right, here we go. First start. Don't mind the lights, that's just because I had the battery disconnected. Whenever you disconnect the battery, I'm sure you guys already know, but you go left, you go right, you go left again, hold it, and then you go right one more time, and the light should go out. TPM usually stops after a certain period of time. There you go. All right, we are up and running. Let's go back. We're gonna go to gauges, and we should. All right, there we go. Idling 14.7-ish, perfect. Air mass looks good. IAT's reading, so that's awesome. All right, check for fuel leaks. This is super important. Always be as safe as possible when you do anything fuel related. Make sure that you don't have anything dripping. Check really, really good. Look underneath. See if there's any drips at all. We're looking really good. I don't smell any fuel, so that's a really good sign. All right. So I tucked the wires down, kind of routed them in there. power wires up underneath. Zip tied the wire along here. There's our signal wire we added to the ECU. Ran the harness down, the engine harness, zip tied it along. So we're looking good. All right, let's go for a first drive and see how she does. Had to update the access port to the new firmware. Make sure you do that or else you won't find any of the Flex-Fuel parameters, which I just realized. So we're gonna go here, select, and ethanol content used. Right there we go. So we're right around 10. This thing is really accurate. I mean, it's bouncing around. 10% is pretty much what all 91, 93 octane fuels use. They vary depending on seasons, but here in Arizona, I mean, we're roughly around 10% all the time. So we'll see how she does on the first drive. All right, here we go. First pull. Felt pretty good. All right, about 16 miles in, 16.6 to be exact. Yes, that is my exact mileage on this thing. I got 189,487, so that's kind of crazy. It's been running really good the past few months. It's awesome. But yeah, so far, drivability is great. Normal stage 1 tune from Cobb, which is awesome. I mean, you can slap this on your car with the Flex-Fuel sensor and be good to go. I will be doing some calibrations to boost and fueling and timing and all the usual stuff, just to get a little more out of it. I mean, since I do have the downpipe on it and the intake, be able to do stage 2 and then throw some E30 in it. And we do have E54 in Arizona here, which is awesome. So be seeing how I can do on E54. I will probably need to upgrade the in-tank fuel pump, which I'll let you guys know on that when time comes. And then we'll do multi-port injection and all the fun stuff. But I mean, for now, this is awesome. The install went pretty smooth. I mean, you can do this in your driveway, no big deal. Your shop, your garage, doesn't matter. And the fact you can actually see ethanol on there is pretty cool. Don't mind that 33 PSI spike. I'm not quite sure what that was, but I think it may have touched it real quick because I do have the 5-bar map sensors in here. It may have just done that, until the ECU adapted, but I mean, I've been seeing like 20, I think 25, 26, so, it's doing pretty good boost for stage 1. I don't know if it's because of the downpipe or what, but it's pretty solid. So hardly any timing pull, which is great. I think we got -1.5. Spec from the factory is -6. So I mean, we're way under that. That's awesome. But yeah, all good.